Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Beckett, and today I'll be presenting my financial analysis of the Johns Hopkins Hospital. I chose the Johns Hopkins Hospital because it is a well-known hospital around the world. Also, I am from Maryland and know many people who work at this organization. Johns Hopkins Hospital is a not-for-profit organization. Their mission statement is to improve the health of the community and the world by setting the standard of excellence in medical education, research, and clinical care. I do believe the hospital operates based on this mission statement. For some statistical information, Johns Hopkins Hospital receives over 4 million patients and more than 360,000 emergency room visits annually. They have more than 40 care locations, and Johns Hopkins community physicians receive more than 932,000 patients each year. Johns Hopkins also has several home care institutions that treat more than 170,000 adults and children in Central Maryland annually. Although Johns Hopkins is a local organization, they are also a global organization. They do have global collaborations, and Johns Hopkins Medicine International welcomes thousands of patients and families from around the globe. According to U.S. Health News, out of 4,500 hospitals assessed, Johns Hopkins ranks number 3 in the nation as one of the best hospitals and ranks number 1 in Maryland. Common size analysis is a method of evaluating financial information by expressing each item in a financial statement as a percentage of a base amount for the same time period. If we compare Johns Hopkins revenues from 2014 to 2017, we notice that there is not much change. On average, 95% of the revenue from the 4 years is coming from program service revenue, which is revenue received by an organization while charging the services for which it received tax exemption. Through the years, they haven't had significant changes in this area. If we look at their expenses, on average about 36% is coming from salaries and employee benefits, as well as 61% is for other expenses. So they spent more money on other expenses than they did for salaries and employee benefits. Again, for total expenses, they stayed relatively stable with an average of 97%. And if we look at the net income, which is the total amount of money the hospital earned in a period of time, minus all the expenses, it is clear that Johns Hopkins earned more money in 2014 than any other year. On average, they earned 3%, which is low to the benchmark of 5%. So moving on to the balance sheet, on average, 59% of total assets goes to liabilities, which means that 59% is financed by creditors, investors, or other entities. It is interesting to see that in 2016, the percent jumped to 64.3% and then dropped the following year. Over the years, Johns Hopkins Hospital has filed more than 2,400 lawsuits in Maryland against patients with unpaid bills, which is quite a lot. If we move on looking at the net assets to total assets, Johns Hopkins on average is 41%, which means they hold more liabilities than assets. They did have a drop in 2016 of 35.7%, but they stayed relative in the 40% range. Moving on to trend analysis, which helps provide us with clues about whether a business's financial conditions is improving, holding constant, or deteriorating. I have highlighted in red the trends that were negative to show the decrease in the financial conditions in certain areas. Some things I want to point out is that for Johns Hopkins operating revenue, They stayed pretty stable with an average of 4.7% and a total revenue on average of 5.6 growth. With total expenses, there was an average of 6.1% growth. Looking at net income, we can see that in 2014 to 2015, there was a significant decrease of 29.9%. While they did see a growth in 2015 to 2016 of 22%, they also saw a decrease in net income of 8% in 2016 to 2017. If we look at the balance sheet, we have a decrease in net assets from 2014 to 2015 of 3.7%, and in 2015 to 2016 of 14.9%, which indicates that Johns Hopkins liabilities are greater than their assets. We did see a growth of 18.8% in net assets for 2016 to 2017. Looking at the profitability ratios for Johns Hopkins Hospital, we are able to assess the organization's ability to generate income relative to its revenue, operating costs, and balance sheet assets. Using the benchmarks that Professor Stefan provided, for a total margin of 5%, we see that year 2014 was the only year that was decently close to the benchmark of 4.2%. However, on average for total margin, Johns Hopkins comes in at 3.2%. Next, if we look at operating margin, the benchmark is 3.6%. The operating margin for 2014 is over the benchmark at 4.3%, and for the year 2016, they exactly hit at 3.6%. On average, Johns Hopkins operating margin is 3.4%, which I think is pretty good. For return on assets, the benchmark is 4.8%. On average for Johns Hopkins, they sit at 2.2%, which is relatively low, which pretty much means they don't have asset efficiency. Return on equity benchmark is 8.4%, and Johns Hopkins averages to 5.5% for return on equity. This indicates that Johns Hopkins may not be making enough income from the use of their assets. The overall financial analysis, I would conclude that Johns Hopkins Hospital is pretty stable, but they could also be doing better. For Johns Hopkins Hospital to continue to carry out their mission, I believe they first need to meet their financial goals by having a healthy bottom line, which means they could have the resources to invest in finding treatments or providing top-notch care, or even just providing more training. However, we did see that Johns Hopkins Hospital revenue is flattening while their expenses continue to grow. Because of the economic climate and facing healthcare changes, I believe it is essential for Johns Hopkins Hospital to use smart processes, efficient systems, and also have financial controls to become better financially stable. Johns Hopkins Hospital faces many challenges, including meeting goals for fundraising and governmental support, meeting budget growth while addressing capacity and productivity, controlling costs while addressing competitive compensation for staff, meeting projections for medical expenses incurred through managed care products, and improve faculty and staff efficiency. Overall, I believe Johns Hopkins Hospital is well positioned financially to meet these challenges by staying true and committed to their mission and values. Also by having an excellent workforce, a strong system of governance and management. They need to be disciplined to setting and meeting targets, continuing organizational realignment, and lastly, focus on safety and quality of patient care. So that is my presentation, and I thank you all for viewing it.